And welcome in. Hello, everyone, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Young Dad Podcast. I'm your host, Jay, of course, and I'm so excited to be with you. It feels like forever since I've been behind the microphone, and you're like, wait, I just listened to a new episode a few days ago. Well, yes, but that was from the back catalog, and now we're updating the catalog of episodes for you guys. So I'm super excited to be with you guys. Super excited to be here. Right here at the top, I have my boy Erik here, host of the Now We're Here podcast. Super excited to have him on with us. Before we jump into all the podcast stuff, all the good stuff, I want to take a moment, shout out our sponsor of the podcast. We have grown with our supporters and with who's supporting the podcast, and it's just been incredible growth overall. So thank you guys for the listenership. Thank you guys for subscribing to the email newsletter, which you got to get on. But also, big shout out to Dad Bod Supply Company. You see the hat I'm wearing? Dad Bod. We all have dad bods. Myself especially. Super sick. Love being a dad. Love having the dad bod. This hat's amazing. It's one of their athletic hats. Dad vibes right here. Nothing like it. Shirts also from Dad Bod Supply Company. So big shout out to them. Go over to link in the description of this episode. You'll be able to save yourself 15% at checkout. Young Dad 15. All right. I would say that's enough of the business. Erik, how you doing this morning, man? Tell us about you. Tell us about the podcast, where you sometimes talk about things going on in your life. So,
Hey, good morning. So I have Now We're Here podcast. I'm on Instagram and Threads. It's kind of like that. It's kind of simple yet complicated at the same time. I just kind of talk about things in my life, and sometimes it's small, funny topics. I had my kids on. They each had episodes. I talk a lot about the Chicago Bulls. I talk a lot about the Bulls. Talk about just whatever's going on in my life. I mean, that could be grief. I had deaths in the last major family deaths in the last 2 years. It might just be talking about hip hop, talking about the Kendrick Drake situation, just kind of talking about what's going on with me, really. A lot about the kids, a lot about like this weekend at the recording of this, it's going to be all soccer all weekend. So I'll end up talking a lot about that and kind of dealing with traveling around with them all weekend and stuff like that. So yeah, it's kind of like a culmination of why we're here now. Now we're here because how life gets us.
I love that. And we're all just kind of here going along. It's important to just realize where you're at all times.
Yes.
To be able to ground
Yes.
yourself is important, especially as a Bulls fan, because life can be tumultuous. But I can't speak too much of that because I am at heart a Seattle Sonics fan, and they'll always be the Seattle Supersonics. Bring them home, baby. Bring them back. Expand the NBA. 32 teams. Let's go.
They definitely deserve it. I don't know. I don't get it. They definitely deserve a team.
I
Seattle
know
wants it. The state wants it. Everyone wants it.
the NBA wants it. The players want it, and I think it would be
And
so
once,
cool to. Oh, go ahead.
sorry, I was going to say, as soon as they make a team, whenever that is, I can imagine a lot of the Northwestern U.S. players just going back home. And I think that would be great.
I think it'd be awesome because right now, if you think about that team of the Northwestern players who would be there, you would think if it's during KD's time, KD would go back for a year. Levine would try to get up there. They would try to go and get like Apollo Banchero, UW star. Got to go think they would try to somehow get Chet Holmgren, Gonzaga star.
I
If
forgot he was
Russ
there.
is still back around, then go and get Russ. And the only reason I know this is because I have done expansions on 2K with the Sonics, and then I go and trade for all these guys to build my initial team. And I only get guys who are either from Washington as natives or who went to UW, Wazoo, or no NBA players went to Wazoo because Wazoo is a crappy school. I don't like the Cougars. I'm a Huskies guy, like Paulo Banchero went to UW. So there's a bunch of guys who went to UW who are still in the NBA right now, or Gonzaga. Gonzaga is a huge filter to the NBA. So I've done this build so many times, and that team is unstoppable. Will it? Can it happen? No, absolutely not. But it would be super cool if it could happen.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Maybe Jamal Crawford will come back for a little bit.
I think so. That would be sick. Just
You,
get him in the threes.
if he did a 10-day right now, not right now because the playoffs, but if he did a 10-day, he could actually do some damage.
Yeah, because I think he's still out there hooping in like some other league somewhere.
Yeah, that guy is just amazing. He retired, and he's better than so many players on the court right now.
The NBA is weird, man. It's weird. So right now, while we're recording, it's the 1st of June, if you're listening. So right now, something's happening here, right now, in terms of kind of what we're talking about, staying on with basketball. I'm a big basketball guy. You're a big basketball guy. NBA playoffs are happening. There's this running joke that Nikola Jokic hates his job. His job is basketball. He loves his horses. And then you have Luka, who's just like, I love job. Job best. Basketball, best thing ever. But Luka's also showing us some of his immaturity lately with how he's been acting on the court. He has a lot of passion for the game. It's awesome to see. The NBA needs that. But then you flip the coin over to the Celtics and talk about a Mickey Mouse path to the NBA Finals.
They had it a little easier than Luka. They've had it a lot easier than the West. Watching the
They've
West, yeah, watching the West, I was thinking whoever wins Denver and Minnesota will win the championship. And first, I got that part wrong. It's probably going to be the Mavs.
mhm.
And yeah, Boston had a little easier way going in.
They had the easiest way possible. Every team they played did not have their superstar player. Giannis was out, Halliburton went out, and then who else did they play? They played I don't remember who.
Oh gosh, now that's going to bother me.
Same.
Basketball
Um
stuff I should know.
right? Who did they play cuz they played Giannis in the first, or the Bucks in the first round, beat them. They played who in the second round? And that's going to bother me.
Miami.
Miami. So no Jimmy Butler. So they were Jimmy Butlerless in the second round.
And then the Cavs.
And then the Cavs, who had Mitchell go down. Yeah, Mitchell got hurt.
It's a pretty easy path, you're right.
Yeah, so they just keep having all these guys go down, which is just like, what, how, like, there's some like voodoo magic going on by like Drew Holiday that he picked up from New Orleans that he's bringing up or something. I don't know.
They always
Um,
say it's the script, which I don't really believe, but I don't know. I don't write scripts.
no, neither do I. But this is not one I would have written the Mavericks because
I
I think
bet.
Luka getting snubbed for the MVP definitely deserved
Oh
to
yeah.
get to the finals. Luka was the regular season MVP, not Nikola.
I was kind of thinking of Shea Gillis-Alexander for everything
I
he did with the Thunder, but
I
I
love
don't
me.
know why I'm overlooking Luka because every time I watch Luka, I'm like, that guy is amazing. And to coexist with another star and still do his own game,
Mm-hmm. But then,
him and the Kyrie project really paid off.
man, year one was rough. Like after the trade
Excuse me.
deadline, like that second half of that first season was really rough, which I think was only
Hmm.
last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they're still fresh.
But then this year, it was either Kyrie, like Luka talks about Kyrie, Lively talks about Kyrie, that team talks about Kyrie, PJ Washington, Gafford, they talk about Kyrie, like, dude, this dude's just him. He's just the leader of this team.
Man, yeah, he's definitely grown since his LeBron Cavs days, I think.
Hmm. Big time. And then even since his
He does.
Celtic days, and then since his Nets
Yeah.
days.
I was gonna say, yeah, and then he's grown since then, and then. So
Yeah,
hopefully this is it. Like this is his final stop, but who knows?
I think it has to be, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna recreate what he's doing now with another team, conference, star player. Not to say he's gonna retire anytime soon, but him and Luca is fun to watch.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun.
Except when they play the Bulls. I don't like that. That's not fun
Yeah,
for me.
yeah, it wasn't fun when they play the Warriors. I'm now a more of a hardcore Warriors fan because I lived in the Bay Area during high school, so it was like the early Steph and Clay days, while they
Oh
were still
wow.
playing at the Oracle when they were like
Mm-hmm.
years 1 to like 4. So they were like little boys. They were like wee little baby
Yeah.
boys. And
Oh,
I
that's
say that
funny.
because they're older than me. I was a teenager watching them. But it was so much fun to go to. At that time, it was called the Roracle
Ugh.
because it would get so loud. So you say, I'm going to a game with the Roracle. Everyone would be like, huh? And then, like, the people who knew I played basketball in high school, they're like, yeah. And then, like, those games are nuts. One time I sat, like, 3 rows up, and the PA like in stadium like announcer came and talked to me and my brother, and it was super sick. Like it was super fun.
Especially at that time when it's like these guys are really, really special.
Yeah, it was
Like
before that even. It was
it's
like there's something here. Like there's something here. We don't know what it is yet, but we feel something's like different. Like we're doing stuff. We're making moves. Like we got this Curry dude. We're all trying to play like him. We're all shooting crazy threes. Like it changed. Like I was living and playing basketball like in the Bay Area while it changed. And we all just started
hmm,
shooting. We all went from our mid range game, like mid range was where it's at, because Kobe was a midi magician, right?
yeah.
Kobe, mid range magician, all day from mid. So we all just kept our mid range like on point, free throw routine, fundamentals on point all the time. And then we're living in the Bay Area, and then we start watching Steph every day, every single day. Splash, splash. Clay gets drafted. Clay gets on the team. Splash, splash, splash from three. It changed all of us. Like we're all like now shooting from range. We're all just pulling up, taking logo shots, just doing crazy, we're just shooting like crazy, and just to see how it changed, like even like us kids playing basketball, what Steph did and has done. Now you even add in for young women, Caitlin Clark, what she's doing. It's crazy to see the basketball landscape and see how it impacts kids and the game now for kids, kind of what they emulate and what they go after, kind of thing. So
Yeah, I've been had my eye on Caitlin for a little bit, and it was her second year of college. One of my friends said, "Hey, check out this girl from Iowa State or Iowa, Caitlin Clark. She's really good. She's going to be bigger than she is now." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll kind of keep an eye on her." I just didn't. I knew she was good at that time watching her when my friend pointed her out. I did not know she would, go on this trajectory.
no clue. No, I think they made the tournament all three of the 4 years that she was there. If
Yeah,
not all four, they made the turning with her.
yeah, she's amazing, and she's the way she's opened it up for people who never. One of my friends at work, she loves women's sports, and I would wear Chicago Sky stuff. Yeah. So I'm not from Chicago. Grew up in the Midwest, but I'm actually live in San Diego. So I have had some friends say like, let's meet up here on the East Coast because you're in the Midwest. I'm like, I'm not exactly in the Midwest. I'm way over by the Pacific Ocean. So 3 hour difference, and yeah, people because and also I post a lot and I talk a lot and I wear a lot of Chicago. I'm not actually from Chicago. When I grew up though, it was early mid through the 90s Chicago Bulls basketball, watching WGN. Grew up in southern Indiana, actually, just north of Louisville. So I'm a
Okay.
Louisville Cardinals fan, and I'm not an Indy fan because so much WGN. Actually, don't like Reggie Miller as a player.
Hmm.
So when him Pacers were in the playoffs right now, I'm glad. I don't root for the Pacers at all. I did not like watching Pacers versus Jordan. I mean, Pacers versus the Bulls with Michael Jordan there. Got to give respect to the team,
Got to, yeah.
but I did not. Gosh, those battles. I just wasn't a Pacers fan. Um, sorry, I just went off on that tangent just to make it clear because I know a
No,
lot of
you're
people were
fine.
like, "Oh, Erik, you're from the Midwest somewhere." I'm like, and I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? I do talk a lot about Chicago and everything else, but I don't really post about San Diego and like where I'm from out here and stuff. So I guess I got to do more kind of clarifying posts about that. But with oh, sorry, to get back on track. With one of my coworkers, she's a huge Caitlin Clark fan, but she wasn't an Iowa State fan until like the last year and a half when they went to the playoffs and the finals in the NCAA. But she's telling me like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she's only done this so much in the WNBA. She's supposed to come in and do all these great things. And I'm like, first, you're new to the WNBA. Let me explain how actually tough the pros are from a fan's perspective who constantly watches. She's not going to, and she's by all means not a LeBron coming to the NBA and just dominating the men. She does have to make the adjustments,
Mm.
and she does have to make just the pace of play, the size and speed, a little bit of everything. But I told her thanks for being a fan,
All right.
but kind of have to catch you up on how this works, unfortunately.
Yep.
But she will get into her own. I really do think she will find her step, and she kind of has, and she'll be successful. on the
100%.
court.
100%. I mean, you look at there's so many comps out there in the WNBA. I mean, you look at Sue Bird's first however many games. She wasn't good. She was really
Seattle
bad.
Storm Hall of Famer.
My girl Sue Bird. Love going to Storm games as kids. Man, Sue Bird would put on a show. She was so good. Such a talented player. She played forever. Couple kids, everything. She kept playing. It's crazy that the WNBA, that these women will keep playing and after childbirth, within a couple months of giving birth and whatnot,
Yeah.
they'll play. I mean, they're playing in season while pregnant.
Oof.
Like,
Yeah.
that's
And then,
just,
like you said, to just suddenly get back on the court in a fairly short amount of time.
yeah. I mean, you
Yeah.
think of male
Can't do
athletes,
that.
like they take a couple days off, so there's something both ways, but nothing like giving birth. But I mean, you think of male athletes, they get 2 days off, and they're like, all right, let's get you back, let's get you back.
Yeah. They were resting to rest, and women are having babies and playing a couple weeks later
Yeah, which
at a
is just
high level.
yeah, it's WNBA is no joke. It's great, Caitlin Clark, what she's doing for the WNBA, what she's already done in a matter of a couple months since being drafted, maybe even less than a month at this time. Since being drafted was a huge revenue boom. 2 new teams have been announced for the WNBA, so there's 2 expanding teams.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
the Golden State Valkyries, and then there's one more other expansion team.
Toronto or no, Vegas already has it. I think it's Toronto.
I think it's Toronto. Theirs is coming back too. But the Golden State Valkyries looks absolutely incredible. Their marketing logos, Paige Buchers out of UConn's already posting. They're already posting like Paige Buchers and in a Valkyries jersey, and
Oh my gosh.
because Paige is #1 pick next year, all things considered.
She's UConn,
She's
right?
UConn, yeah. She's
Yeah, that's
very
right.
talented, very talented. And then the WNBA, one of the best parts of it is there's drama. It's like
Yes.
basketball and reality TV at the same time. Because who was it? Vegas player Anna Stewart? Is it Brianna Stewart? The one that was married to Darren Waller?
Is it Kelsey?
Kelsey Plum.
Maybe Bree, I thought.
Kelsey Plum. Kelsey Plum.
Okay.
Kelsey
She's
Plum.
a San Diego person, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she went
I
to
didn't
La
know
Jolla
that.
Country Day High School. And
Oh, dang.
it's like a private school, so they can kind of recruit, which is cool. So my
Yeah.
friend who lives across the county, she got recruited and plays there. Now she has a full ride to San Diego State women's basketball on a athletic, and
Dang.
she's very smart, so she could have gone athletic or academic, but
That's
she is on
awesome.
the athletic one, so I'll keep an eye for her. But yeah, Kelsey Plum is a San Diego person, and I actually didn't know that until I started going to my friend's daughter's games.
That's awesome. So yeah,
Yeah.
so Kelsey Plume, Darren Waller, they got married. Happy life. You know, they get married. He's playing for the Raiders at the time. She's playing for the Aces. And then boom, Waller's traded to the Giants, New York. Kelsey Poe, so excited, can't wait to be in New York. Let's get it. Get married. And then all of a sudden Darren Waller's posting like weird stuff on TikTok, like breakup stuff and things like that. Kelsey comes out, says, "Oh, it's nothing big. It's just Darren's just having a little fun." Kelsey just posted not very recently saying, "I gave my everything for that man." Blah 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 blah. Scripture. So assuming that they're not together anymore, something happened, and then Brandon Podzemski shoots his shot at Kelsey Plume. So he like put something on X, Twitter, and was like, "Kelsey Plume the baddest. I don't know what y'all saying," kind of thing. But then
Oh,
there's
that's
like
funny.
ex-girlfriends playing against current girlfriends, and there's all this like storyline. Like there's so many good storylines in the WNBA. Like if you watch and if you like can get in on the storylines, there's like a game-winning bucket. Someone scores a game-winning bucket against an ex-girlfriend, and then they get into a fight almost, and all these things. There's like so much drama. It's so cool. Like WNBA is so cool. Like if you watch it, yes, it's all below the basket, but the storylines and the drama, the way that they're just out to get Caitlin Clark, like she's the villain.
Yeah, I think Angel Reese for Chicago got clotheslined in one of her first few games.
Yeah,
And it was a hard one too. Like that would take any person down. Like hit.
Yeah, they're like, "Welcome to the NBA, Rook."
Yeah, you
If
were
you're a
good
top,
in LSU, but you're here now.
yeah, Angel Reese's, she's she's incredible. She's so good
Yeah,
in her own regard. She had a different skill set than Caitlin Clark altogether. She's bigger, she's stronger, different position, of course, but she's very talented. Very talented.
yeah, they've actually sold out on almost anywhere for legit jerseys, and I've been trying to get some for a couple months. I check every other couple times a week to see it's re-upped back on the Nike website, the WNBA website or app, the Skies website. I can't find it anywhere. And my friend actually bought them the first week they came out, and it's been 2 months and she hasn't gotten them yet.
That's crazy. See, and
It's
that's part of the Caitlin Clark effect, though. Caitlin Clark had
it
so many
is.
eyes on her during the not WNBA, the NCAA women's tournament, and through that whole process, and they did such a great job marketing her story and her as a product. I mean, girl got an 8-figure deal with Nike. Female athletes
Yeah.
don't get 8-figure deals with Nike, or at least they haven't traditionally. Granted, Nike has changed a lot of its views and agendas and whatnot, so it makes sense that they did it now. In wake of 2024 progressivism and things like that. Really cool to see, but like, if there's anyone that earned it, it's to set this stage and to set this up as her. I guess she also had competing offers from like Reebok and New Balance and Under Armour and Adidas. Like she had offers from all the brands. All the brands were
Dang.
trying to get after her, and Nike just offered her the most money and the best payout, pretty much.
Yeah, gosh. Yeah, one of my friends is already on like the like notifications for that.
Yeah,
Yeah, she doesn't even play basketball, but she's gonna get a pair.
yeah. I have 2 daughters. I want my daughters to play basketball because I want to retire
Oh, I know.
early.
I tell my son he's pretty good at soccer, and I'm like, so when you make the pros, he wants to be a professional soccer player, like a superstar,
Of
and
course,
then he wants to be a pilot after. I'm like, well, if you're flying, if you're a pro athlete, you can be flown anywhere. So why would you want to fly after? He said, well, I just want to fly after because I don't want to play soccer anymore when he's done being a superstar. So I said, like, well,
smart.
you can fly me and your mom around. And when you're a superstar, you can fly us around to all your games and we don't have to work anymore. We'll be at every game. He said, well, you have to pay for your own flight at least once. I'm like, if that's the only guideline, then absolutely. We'll pay for our one flight. He's 8 years old.
I love this.
I'm like, we'll pay for the one flight and you can cover the rest. He said, okay, it's a deal. We should have shook on it. Gosh, it's
Go
not
right up the
official. We didn't
contract.
shake on it.
Go right up the
Yeah,
contract real quick. No, verbal contracts are legally binding in the state of California.
you're
Um,
right. Crud.
so you're good. It's verbal. You're good. Um, no, that's awesome, and that's interesting. He's thinking like long term. Oh yeah, when I'm done being a superstar of soccer at like 32,
Yeah.
kind of thing, I'm gonna go be a pilot
Yeah.
just because.
I'm like, sure, if that's what you want to do, pilots are pretty cool. And then my wife told him, his mom told him, with pilots, when you work for the airline, immediate family members get discounts or get free travel to a point. I'm not sure exactly.
They get
So we told him that.
they get they get like buddy passes that they can give. I have a buddy
Oh,
who's a first. He's not the pilot. He's not the captain, but he's like the first. He's like in the cockpit. He's like the second in command
okay.
kind of thing. So he's like the first attendee or first. I can never remember what he's called. But I can hit him. He can give them to anyone too. It doesn't matter who. So they're given X amount of buddy passes for the year. Pretty much they give them out. They said, "Hey, here you go." The only part with that, the only catch is that you're flying standby.
Huh.
So there's
Oh,
no
so you're
guarantee that you
kind
get
of
on the
like,
flight.
wow. It's kind of a risk, especially if your bags are packed and you're hoping for that trip.
Mm-hmm.
The last bunch of flights I've been on, they said they're all full with a couple on standby. Now, think about it. I wonder if the standby happen to have been like the passes or not. Because some
Maybe.
of the packed flights have always had that. But I also know they overbook. I'm not a big fan of how they do all that. I kind of understand it, but I'm not a fan of it.
No, I don't mind flying too much. Like, it's not like my favorite thing. It's not the worst thing. It's just it's hard. You gotta buy. There's so many fees. There's so many tricks. There's so many all the things in between, and it's just rough.
Yeah. Have you flown with the kids?
I have. I actually flew last year, about a year ago, just myself, um, with my two kids. My oldest was a year ago. She was 5 turning 6, so she was 5. My youngest was she 2. She would have been like just a little over 2. Um, Fun fact, I actually said she was under 2 years old, so I didn't have to pay for her ticket. And then they asked me for her birth certificate because she was a big girl. I'm like, dang, I didn't think to bring it. I co-parent with her mom, and she has all the documents, and she wasn't willing to give it to me. And man, I'm really sorry. They're like, okay, kind of thing. And they didn't end up saying anything or doing nothing. They're just like, come on, kind of thing. So I
Oh,
didn't
that's
end up paying
funny.
for her ticket, but it was only on the way there. We were going to Vegas for my niece's birthday, from Seattle to Vegas. But then they didn't ask anything on the way back, like at the Vegas airport. They just didn't give a shit. And I was like,
Hmm.
what? Okay. But I knew that
How
was
has
gonna
it been
happen
traveling
too.
with them?
Yeah, they just didn't ask like how old she was. They didn't ask for her age or
That's
anything.
funny.
Yeah, it was like this is. I'm like, whatever. I'm like, cool, don't ask. But yeah, flying with two that are 5 or younger is it's intense. I saw a post actually recently, and I commented on it, and they're like, "How do you fly alone with kids?" And I'm like, "Let me tell you, snacks, games, toys, pack them their
Yes.
own bag, bring the melatonin. Even if you don't use melatonin, bring the melatonin.
Hmm.
If they're
We've been
runners,
pretty lucky. The kids have been pretty chill, but if God, we'll pay a little extra to
mhm,
get a nonstop because the layovers are just too much for them.
yeah,
They're so bored. They have all the energy, but they're so bored and they want to run around everywhere. They want to see it and do everything. Last year, we went to New York and we got the direct flight to Newark, and we paid a little extra, but it's either that or sit somewhere layover for like 2 to 3 hours with the chaos. But yeah, definitely the snacks, the games. We haven't done melatonin. We'll have to. I don't know. My kids don't will not sleep on a plane, but they're once the iPad's in front of them, we help load up movies, games, and
hmm
stuff.
yeah.
They're pretty chill.
Preload that stuff too. Like download like those, like pre-download them so you can watch them in like offline, so you're not having to pay for like Wi-Fi. Is another great thing to do as well. So just get everything preloaded, get everything pre-ready, so then you don't have to worry about paying for Wi-Fi or anything, and then it's just plug and play. But yes, the electronics, the tablet, all the things, get all the things, bring all the things. So,
Yeah, good times.
but I made my older one. I'm like, okay, you're taking your little tiny backpack kind of thing. It's like a little tiny. It's not a school backpack, but it's like a little tinier, like little travel backpack. I'm like, you can bring stuff, but you can't bring anything more than what will fit in here because she will typically just like load up a bag. She'll just get to like stuffing crap in a bag. She'll just grab everything and throw it in a bag. And I'm like, whatever you fit in here is what you're taking. You better be happy with it, kind of thing. But you also have to remember
Yeah,
you still have to fit your water bottle. You still have to fit some snacks, kind of thing. And it worked out, but she missed out on some things she wanted to bring and was stuck with what she brought, kind of thing. So
when the kids have like a bring a stuffy to school day for their classroom or for the whole school or whatever, my son will always want to bring like the biggest one in his room he could find. And I tell him,
same.
and I always tell him, you have to fit it in your backpack. If you can't fit it in, then you can't bring it with his water bottle, with whatever book, folders he has. But the thing is, he'll find a way. He'll stuff it in there. He'll
Mm-hmm.
pretty much vacuum seal it with his hands by just shoving it all in there. And he'll show me his bag, and it's like ballooned. And I'm like, he fit it. That was the rule. He has to fit it with his stuff. And technically, he did. Do I
Yeah.
like it?
No.
Not necessarily, because you can't fit anything else if the school gives him stuff. But he did the job.
He's got
So
his
I'm like,
hand.
I can't be mad. He really wanted to bring it, and he followed the rules, so
He did. And
he
then he gets
won.
back home and it's out of the backpack and
No, he forgets it at school. Everything's forgotten at school.
Everything.
Sweaters, water bottles. I don't see the point of putting our name on stuff if they're all going to go to the lost and found. I mean, it does help, but we're familiar with the lost and found.
Yeah. We just had a picnic at my daughter's school yesterday, and like a little family picnic day and stuff, and they put the lost and found right out front. So as you like walk in and stuff, and my oh my, I am like, this is not even worth it. Let it go. Whatever's lost, someone else can take it if they really want it at this point. I'm not even looking through that because that is just overwhelming, the amount in the lost and found.
Oh,
And it's
yeah.
just what I wonder is like, how do you not like go and look in the lost and found for something? Like there's so much stuff there. I'm like, there's like, granted, I'm 90%. My daughter's really good at making sure she brings her stuff home. Like she's very used to it because she has to go between like two houses.
Okay.
And so like she's very used to like making sure she keeps track of stuff and knowing where things are. Like I'll ask her, "Where's your baseball stuff at?" "Oh, it's at your place," or it's over here," kind of thing. Speaking of which, I have to make sure I take her uniform to her this morning. But she's very good at knowing like, oh, that goes, or that piece of clothing stays here, or that piece of clothing goes over there, kind of thing. So she's very good at keeping track of her stuff. Her little sister, not so much. Her little sister's a struggle. But granted, she's 3, so can't be too mad
Oh.
at that.
Yeah, my daughter, she's a little firecracker. She, and I'll have to say, I might post this later. I probably will because it's just too funny. But in terms of finding stuff, on one hand, she'll say, I know exactly where that is. She'll go in her room, go into one of her messy cubbies, go into her tin lunchbox in one of the cubbies and find exactly what I'm looking for, like a certain pencil or pen or scissors, which we used to have a lot of scissors in the house. And I don't know where any of them are at. In the other hand, she'll say, I don't know, go find it. Will you please look for it? Help me look for it. No, you go find it. Just please help me find it.
Right?
And then she'll find it because she knows where it is and didn't want to tell me.
Yeah. The kids, they always know where stuff is. I swear, they always know. For some reason, somehow, some way, some shape, some form, they always know where the stuff is. It doesn't quite make sense, but they know.
Yeah, and where they know where it is, not in 100 years would I think about looking there for it.
No, it's always some weird specific place, and they just know though. So they just know, which is like the craziest and weirdest part to me is how do they know? They know because they put
Yeah.
it there, but how do they remember that they put it in that spot? And why did they put it in that spot?
Yeah, they'll remember that, but they won't remember to flush the toilet and wash their hands.
Nope. Nope.
Almost weekly, hey guys, flush the toilet, wash your hands. This is something and I have to remind them, this is one of the first things we learned, guys, using the bathroom. You use the potty, you flush, you wash your hands, and then you dry them off and you're done. But they forget that, but they'll know where this trinket is. Like you said, I don't know why it's a part of this set of random trinkets. It's kind of like Ariel's grotto. Is it called her grotto?
I
Ariel's
think
little
so.
lair with all her human stuff. It's
Mm-hmm.
just a complete random assortment of things. And they all have purpose, they all have meaning. And like you said, when your daughter's packing, like she has to have all these things.
Why she needs to have all those things, I don't know.
Doesn't make sense. Kids.
Which is why we limit her on how much stuff she can bring. But I guess let me ask you this, Eric. How your kids are 8? How many kids do you have in total? Just 2?
The two, 6 and 8.
6 and 8.
6 on the girl, 8. She'll soon be 7, and then our son's 8.
Very cool. So they're pretty close in age. They're what, about 18 months?
Oh yeah, people actually confuse them for twins sometimes because my son is a little shorty, and she's kind of her height for her age, I think. So they're roughly a couple inches off, and there's similarities. People think they're twins sometimes,
We love
even
a
though they're
short
18.
king.
Short, yeah.
Love a short king. So what's it been like for you and your wife, correct?
Yep.
So that would have put us back in 2015. 8 years have gone
Yes.
by. 2 presidencies. life looks a lot different than it did 8 years ago, just in general for most people. But specifically for you guys, what changed over the last 8 years, 2 kids, for the better with them?
With them, I think for them, what's worked better is our experience as parents. Because without our experience with them and with what's been going on around us, we couldn't like really evolve and help them and help raise them. So, I mean, they're teaching us something, little something every day. And most recently, I've been practicing a lot of realizing I've been able to put myself in their shoes more at this point in their age because they're in first and second grade. I remember a decent deal of first and second grade and how my relationship with my parents were at that time. Before that, not so much. And it was kind of like, yeah, they can remember some stuff, but they're little. They're not going to remember everything. But they truly are sponges. I mean, obviously, if we can think of stuff back then that we, grew up with our parents at that young age, they're definitely doing it right now. So even I don't know about much since 2015, just the growth of ourselves to help them. But the more recently realizing like, gosh, they're in the age group where like we're remembering stuff. So maybe we should, be better at what we're doing as parents. And patience has been huge lately, at least, where I'm just really putting that mindset of their age group in my head. Like, wait a minute now, like it's even more impressionable now than it was earlier. I don't know if it really is more per like studies or anything, but my realization of it is, and it's like, okay, I really need to show my patience, really slow it down for them, or slow it down for me, actually, have me slow down the situation, let them talk or let them explain something. So I don't know so much since all the craziness of 2015. We've kind of bounced back pretty good in the house in the area, but just the growth for us to help watch them grow.
Very cool. And San Diego's beautiful. It's a beautiful city, lots
It's okay.
to do, lots of fun stuff. I mean, you have the Padres, you had the Chargers once upon a time.
Oof.
I know that one
It's a
still cuts
sore.
deep.
That's sore.
My brother's a Chargers fan, and that one still cuts deep. Every time we start a connected franchise on Madden, he relocates the Chargers back to San Diego.
That's where they should be.
Yeah, no, I agree. But that new stadium, it's nice. It's real nice.
Haven't checked it out yet. I will.
You got man. It looks cool. I really want to go to SoFi. It looks great. Do I want to spend $1,000 to go for an event at SoFi? Not really. I don't think it's worth that much. I'll stick to. Why can't I think? Why can't I always call it Quest? Lumen. I'll stick to Lumen and T-Mobile Park, formerly known as Safeco Field and Quest Stadium. So, but what are some of the things like you, as a parent, being a dad? What are some things that have changed within yourself over the last 8 years? Fully thinking, like reflecting on yourself right now, what's changed for you, who you are, how you go about your business, how you go about work, how you go about personal life, how you go about relationships in general with your wife, with others, with friends, with family. How have that impacted your life in general?
My priorities have changed because, of course, before kids, it's all about you or all about me and my wife. And sometimes we talk about it, and it's fun stories where we would just look at each other and say, remember when before kids we can just go to Santa Barbara for the weekend or go to LA for the weekend or just go to Colorado, see my brother? We can just do these things. We just look at each other and we're like, yeah, we can't do that anymore unless we got to get okay, we got to get a babysitter, we got to do this, who's taking them to school, who's taking them to practice, who's taking them to the games. So, I mean, besides all that, definitely the priorities, because it's no longer all about us. We do get moments where we can have a night to ourselves. Like, I'll tell her, like, hey, I have the kids, if you want to go hang out with your friends, or she'll do the same. And work-wise, it's definitely changed because I don't really talk about work, but I'm currently on a 24-hour-7 situation where I have like right now I have my personal phone in front of me and I have my work phone in clear eyesight in case something happens.
Gotcha.
So with that, I've been doing that for the last like maybe 6 years, so pretty much their whole lives. And that priority's changed because I don't want to do 24/7 anymore, because so many times I've been at a game, I'm on my phone. But it's kind of funny because I'm on my personal phone a lot because I'm updating my wife if she's not there, my mother-in-law, or my mom, like, hey, this just happened at the game. But
Yeah.
on top of that, I'm on my personal phone. I mean, I'm on my work phone constantly doing stuff. And the kids notice that.
Hmm.
So I've been at games and I've had my whole laptop out doing stuff. I've been at games stepping away, making phone calls. And the kids really notice that. And I want to be there more for them. And I'm currently trying to get into a position at my job that is no longer 24/7, so I can be there, being actually present, not only physically present, but just emotionally, mentally there for them. And it's funny because I had this conversation with my kids months ago to kind of get what they see and what they feel. And I said, "Hey, do you ever see Daddy on the phone at your games and even at home?" They're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, how do you feel about it? Do you guys want me to? Well, how do you guys feel about me doing that, being on the phone constantly?" My son said, or what I tell them when I have to work, when we're at games, or when we're supposed to be at home hanging out. My son said he doesn't like it because I might miss a goal, which he's right, because sometimes I've been on my work phone and someone's like, "Hey, good job, your son just scored." I'm like, I just suddenly just start clapping, "Yeah, good job," and I'm like, "How did it happen? I didn't see it." And then my son's 100% right though. Like, I'll be on my phone doing work stuff and I miss something. My daughter, how we kind of mentioned on the other hand, is a little different. With her attitude, and said, what was it? She said, "I don't mind when you're on your work phone because you turn the TV on for us and we get to watch shows." And I'm like, okay, she could have said, "I miss her flips at her gymnastics," or "I miss her stuff at the games," but she's looking on the bright side of it. Like, my
Yeah.
son is like, "Oh, dreary, you miss my stuff." My daughter's like, "No, great. You turn on Netflix, you turn on Sesame Street. I'm cool with it." I'm like,
Right.
different responses, okay. But
Those
for
second
me,
those second children, man, they're wild.
oh gosh, yeah. I will definitely send you the pictures though. I'll just send them to you directly before I post them. They are wild what she did the other day.
Man, we
But
were camping over Memorial Day weekend. Sorry to cut you off. And I'm like, telling my little one, I'm like, here, smile, take a picture. And she goes, hold on, I'm playing. And she's digging in dirt. And her little jeans weren't all the way up, so her little butt crack. You can just see all her little booty crack. And so I just take a picture of that because I'm like, this perfectly captures her. But it was her first time camping, and the feralness, the inner wild child just fully came out. My youngest one, my second one, it just fully came out. And I'm like, yeah, she's the second child. She's the second child.
uh yeah, I was the youngest in my family growing up, so I didn't experience that. But I did get away with a lot of stuff that my parents would say to my oldest my it's my brother is the oldest, my sister's the middle, I'm the youngest. So where I could get away with stuff and it would be their fault.
Mm.
So I didn't get that wild, crazy middle child thing. My sister, growing up from what I remember, she kind of had it. Um, Growing up, she's just a couple years older than me. But just having these two watching my daughter, we just look at each other. My wife and I are like, she definitely takes after you. Her telling that to me, and I'm
My
like,
wife,
yeah, I can see that.
my wife will say the same thing to me. She'll be like, "Your my older daughter, she looks like me, but then my younger daughter, she acts like me." I'm like, "Is that a good thing?" I'm like, "I think it's a good thing." Because she's hilarious. She's so fun. She's so wild. She's so just out there. Um, she gives zero regard for what you think, how you feel. Because she's just gonna do her. She's just gonna live her life and do her however she wants. And she does not care what you think, what you say, until she gets in trouble. But other than that, she's gonna walk that line as close to the edge as humanly possible.
Yeah, I think it started when we let her dress herself. I don't know if there's any real correlation, but once we started that, it was no longer little dresses and nice little shoes. It turned into the little short, like I don't know. Sometimes it's a robe. Sometimes it's cowboy boots with like leggings and a jacket in the middle of summer. I think once we started letting her dress that freedom, she's like, all right, cool. I get to do what I want now. And yeah, it's fine. It's just clothes.
Yeah, it's just clothes. At the end of the day, it's just clothes. Honestly, I mean, I think it's so important that they see us and they perceive us like not. If we see something as not like a big deal kind of thing, like, oh, it's just clothes, like wear whatever, like cool. That helps them create a sense of confidence and comfortability and be able to live out being more of a kid kind of thing. Because then they're not worried about like what other people think. They're not worried because they already got the biggest and best validation they needed from you, saying you look great, kid. Even if you are slightly cringing at whatever they're wearing in the middle of summer, um, you're like, you look so good. Look at you. Good job, kind of thing. And then just have that confidence still. It's so important because then they go to school and they care a lot less about what other people think. They're not worried about what other people think. They just go, they live, they play, and they go home, kind of thing. And they just get through life a lot easier because they learn what's important. They learn what's important to them, to our family, our core values, and that stuff's taught to them through things like that support, that love, and things like that. At least I fully believe. And I'll have to look into it if there's a correlation between kids getting more wild after you allow them to start dressing themselves. So I will look into that. I'll let you know.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to think. That's kind of when it all started.
Yeah, same with our son too, but he kind of dresses more. No, to kind of think of it. If you could imagine, we have a couple Bulls things based off of my posts and stories and
What?
stuff.
No
Yeah.
way.
So on one of the trips my son and I went to Chicago, he got it was like a giveaway. It was a shooting sleeve, like an adult size shooting sleeve that you put on your arm to help. I've never used one.
I use
So
one. They just look cool.
yeah, well, he wears it because it looks cool on his leg.
Nice.
So he'll have his Bulls shirt, shorts, socks on, but he'll exchange one sock for a shorter sock. One's a tall Chicago Bulls sock. The other one he'll put a shorter sock because he'll use that shooting sleeve all the way up. And then he has an array of headbands he'll wear. And
Nice.
yeah, a little more conservative than my daughter,
He's
but
got style.
still his own flavor, his own style,
Awesome.
his own thing. He also has a mullet now because he wanted one, so we said,
Heck
sure, you
yeah.
get a mullet.
Heck yeah. Mulch are making a comeback. Let's go.
So when we go to Kentucky next month to visit family, his current mullet, our neighbor a good friend who does, she's a hairstylist, but she usually does like current and trendy women's hairstyles and some men's, not mullets. She did a good job. But when we go to Kentucky, we're going to have a barber who I assume has done more mullets than people around here. Not to generalize people in Kentucky, but I grew up in the Midwest. There are more mullets out there. So I do think
I think that's an accurate assumption for the Midwest and for Kentucky. I don't think you're off
so
base there. For any listeners in Kentucky, because I know we do have listenership in all 50 states, can y'all reach out? Let me know. I'll put a question up. Are there more mullets in the Midwest? Versus because I don't know very many mullets. But I guess a question here for with your boy, does he say things that just make no sense, like skibbity toilet, Ohio, just random slang sayings like that? Are you there yet? Are you in that phase?
not yet. My
Okay.
son is more like our son's more like his mom, so real serious, more conservative, just real like as a matter of factly.
Okay.
Not so much with him. My daughter, she doesn't really do that much with her
Okay.
little wild inner self. Anything like that. It's more of her just suddenly she's doing it, trying to do a headstand.
Okay. Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm just asking because I got into the side of TikTok to where I'm following like it's all my feed is just like teachers. My wife's a preschool teacher, so I don't know how I ended up on teacher TikTok, but all these teachers who are like different grades, second, third, fourth, middle school, all the whole array, and they just like talk about their kids and like the kid slang that they use and stuff like that and how they act and stuff. So, and I work in mental health and I work with kids all the time. So I had a kid yesterday I was meeting with, and I started using some of that slang, and he was like, "Bro, you're weird. Stop." I'm like, "Bro, stop being Ohio. You're being so Ohio right now."
Oh,
He's
that's
like,
funny.
"Bro,
No.
where did you learn that?" I'm like, "Bro, don't worry about where I learned it. Stop being skibbity toilet while I'm trying to be Sigma." And he's like, "Ew."
Oh
He's just
no.
like cringing. He's like, "You're like 60. You can't say that." I'm like, "Excuse me, young man." He's like, "Look at you arguing with a so and so year old." I'm like, "Bro, we're about to fight." I'm like, "Sir, I'm not
That's a
even
good
30.
question though.
You need to chill."
Our neighbor, she's going to go into sixth grade, I think, and then the other one is going to be a senior in high school. I'll have to ask them. 'Cause they
Ask
come
him the
over once in a
slang.
while, hang out with the kids and stuff, and ask. Yeah,
If they
I'm
do something like
definitely
kind of average or kind of not that impressive, just say, "Bro, that's so Ohio."
so Ohio. Okay, I'll
Yeah,
definitely use that one.
yeah. Use the Ohio one. That was like a burn.
Oh
I hear a
gosh, doesn't
dog.
make I don't get it. Yeah.
But let's wrap up here. I gotta get going to a baseball game. Um, Before we wrap up here, I want to give a quick shout out to another one of our sponsors here at the end of the podcast, the June app. If you listen to the podcast, you've heard me talk about June so many times before, but I love June. As a mental health clinician and as a dad myself with children with behaviors and attention problems, June is an absolute lifesaver. What June is, it's an interactive game and app to help teach responsibility and routine. The way that you teach it is literally by you put tasks in for your child that you want them to do every single day. Different days of the week, you can customize and put different days of tasks in. If you want them to build a really solid morning routine, you can break down that morning routine into several steps. If you have a child on the spectrum, it's great. If you have a child with ADHD, it's also great. If you have a child with ADHD, it's also great. Um, if you just have a child who just struggles with routines and consistency and things in general, but loves screen time and games, this is the app for you. It combines responsibility and routine with a game which kids love, and it's just amazing. You can try it for absolutely free by following the link in my link tree, which is also going to be in the description of this episode. There's also going to be a code there. I believe it's Young Dad 15, maybe Young Dad 25. I don't remember off the top of my head, but you can save yourself some money on your annual subscription. June is absolutely incredible. Proud sponsor of the podcast. By far, one of my most popular episodes of all time, where I actually talked to the clinical director of the June app. So he's awesome. June is great, a great company, local in California, Northern California, my home, Bay Area native. So I love June for so many reasons, but it's so great for so many more reasons beyond that. So thank you, June, for your affiliation, your partnership, and for all the great work you're doing with our children who struggle with in these areas. So last question here. What if you could give a piece of advice to a young dad who just is barely having first kid? Let's say he's young, 20 to 25-ish range. Just had his first kid. He's really young. The whole world ahead of him. Whole life of fatherhood ahead of him. What is one or two pieces of advice you would give to him?
Ooh, good one. I don't know if it could be only one or two. There's just so much. I would tell him, like, hey, you're still young, you're still learning, you still have your whole life ahead of you, but so does this child. So you got to figure a way to balance this out because as much as you need someone to help you guide you because you're still learning your way, this young kid needs to learn their way too. So you really need to balance this out. You can't be selfish anymore. And this child depends on you. So whatever it takes to mature, you're going to have to mature fast to make sure this kid matures, but it'll happen. It'll work out. You need to have the patience too, because as much as you're learning, they're learning. Gosh, I could just go all day and just on the advice,
Oh,
especially with
100%.
someone in that state that's just so young.
Yeah, I think that's a great piece and a great place to end us here because you have to realize like you have your whole life ahead of you still, and you also have this child's whole life ahead of you. How are you gonna still live your life while also teaching them how to live their life? And how are you gonna coincide? How are you gonna coexist and all that? It's a very fine line, it's a very fine balance to try to figure all that out. And it's one that can be really challenging. But I think you kind of mentioned it earlier when you're talking about soccer and work and everything. One of the biggest things well, obviously knowing your kids and they're different and their love languages. Obviously, one child just likes to have an act of service by you turning on the TV for her. The other one likes quality time. So understanding that difference in love languages there is so important. But ultimately, it comes back to your desire of just wanting to be more present and be there more, and be more present and be more in the front row and actually enjoy being in the front row, enjoy being on the bleachers and not be worried about anything else, so that you don't miss a goal or how a goal happened or anything like that. Is all kind of ties back into that, to how are you going to live your life to align with their life, to make sure that your life together is harmonious in senses, in a sense. So
Absolutely.
just to tie it all back together there. Erik, thank you for your time. I really, really appreciate it. Where can our listeners find more of you and more of the work you do?
Yeah, it's find me. I'm on almost every streaming platform. When I post on, I'm on Instagram and on Threads at Now We're Here podcast. So I'm also on a lot on Spotify, Apple Music, iHeart Music, Good Pods, a little bit of everywhere. If you search your favorite streaming platform, I should be there.
I love it, man. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Erik. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Don't forget to, wherever you're listening, to subscribe, to follow, to whatever the thing is on the platform that you're listening to this on. Leave your feedback on Spotify. There is always a place to leave feedback, to leave questions. You can email in questions at any time to the email address, also link in the link tree in the description as well. But leave your feedback, leave your questions, send them in, send in anything. If you have someone that I definitely should connect with, send it over to me. All those things. The email newsletter is a great way to stay in touch with the podcast and keep up to date on all the things we're doing. If I'm a guest somewhere, if I'm having a really special guest, a big announcement, anything like that, email newsletter is a great place to be. And of course, tune in for the next episode. And I can't wait to see you next time on the Young Dad Podcast.